Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Indianapolis Colts Week 10 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some fluidity in terms of outcomes each week, whether due to injury, game plan, etc. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So, starting with this game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. When you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data essentially looks at how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and how the special teams is doing. And based on all these factors, the Steelers are heavily favored based on all this data. The Steelers, in fact, are in many ways considered a top 4 to top 5 team in the NFL based on how their offense and defense is performing. And let's get into some reasons why. So, offensively speaking, the only thing that the Colts have an advantage in on offense is the turnover ratio. The Steelers have had a lot more trouble with turnovers compared to the Colts this year, but they've been able to be successful despite that. But the Steelers are better when it comes to sack percentage. The Steelers don't allow as many sacks as the Colts have. The Colts have scored about a 1.89 when it comes to sack percentage this year out of every team since 1998, to put that into perspective. So, big difference between the two offenses when it comes to sacks, and when it comes to offensive score percentage, big difference as well. The Colts just don't generate enough offense compared to the Steelers. And the Steelers aren't amazing. I mean, the Steelers are not like a top 10 offense, relative to what you would, like if you were to say a team is a very good offense, you would want them to be performing better than they are. However, they're still able to be successful despite some of those kind of issues. So ultimately, that's kind of how things shape up there. Now, when you get to the defensive side of the football, the Steelers are better when it comes to defensive offensive score percentage. The Steelers are also better when it comes to turnovers, interceptions, and getting sacks, pretty much, and all those other sort of factors. So ultimately, defensively and offensively, the Steelers are just really a lot better in many ways compared to the Colts, with the exception of turnovers. Now, when you get to special teams data, so things like punt return yardage, kick return yardage, defensive punt return and kick return yardage, pretty even in terms of punt return yardage between both these teams, but the Colts have it when it comes to kick return yardage, defensive punt return yardage, and defensive kick return yardage. So in that way, the Colts actually have fairly decent special teams when it comes to a yardage standpoint. The Colts also have a better special teams when it comes to field goal percentage, better field goal percentage than the Steelers. The Steelers, however, have a better extra point percentage, and punting averages more so with the Colts. So I would say special teams wise, I would have to give it to the Colts. But offensively and defensively speaking, it's pretty heavily favoring the Steelers here. I mean, there's no way around it. Offensively, defensively, just a ton of data, factoring into these, kind of things. Now, when you get to some other sort of data points, so looking at down and distance data in terms of rushing, passing, sacks, etc. When you look at completion percentage data between the Colts offense and the Steelers defense, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is basically how the teams have stuck out up to this point between both these teams. Then, of course, you look at the Steelers offense versus Colts defense when it comes to completion percentage. And there's clearly a big sort of difference when it comes to second and third down in terms of the Colts defense having the advantage. Then, of course, you get to rushing down. So this is first down conversion rate with the rush, Colts offense versus Steelers defense. In this way, it favors the Steelers defense, but I do think that there is some opportunities for the Colts to be pretty decent. The Steelers' rushing defense is not amazing, but they are pretty good on third down. So that's the one thing I can really say is the rushing defense matches up pretty well with the rushing offense of the Colts for the most part. Then, of course, when you look at the Steelers offense versus Colts defense when it comes to rushing, in this way, the Colts are actually favored here in terms of first down and third down situations. Second down is the only sort of down and distance where the Steelers have had a lot of success rushing the football this year, and specifically in terms of getting first downs with the run. Then, of course, you get to passing downs. Colts offense versus Steelers defense when it comes to passing downs. And in this way, the Steelers are favored here on defense on first and third down situations. Then, of course, you get to the Steelers offense versus Colts defense when it comes to passing yards. The Steelers are favored here as well in first and third down situations for the most part. Then, of course, you get to sack rate. Colts offense versus Steelers defense. Steelers defense is favored here on first, second, and third down respectively. Then, of course, you get to the sack rate for the Steelers offense versus Colts defense. Steelers are favored here. The Colts just don't generate enough pass rush, sacks, pretty much everything you could think of when it comes to pressures and sacks. So definitely not, I don't think it's going to be the best day for the Colts when it comes to getting sacks. Then, of course, you look at interception rate for the Colts offense versus Steelers defense. And in this way, it's kind of evenly matched. The Steelers have the advantage on first down. The Colts have the advantage on second down. And then third down is pretty even. So I would say this is a little bit more even when it comes to getting picks on defense for the Steelers versus the Colts offense. And then finally, when you look at the Steelers offense versus Colts defense, the Colts defense is favored here on first, second, and third down. But it is important to remember, as I try to reiterate every single week, that a lot of these interceptions were because of Malik Hooker, and Malik Hooker is no longer, healthy. He hasn't been healthy for a while, so ultimately that's going to affect things and how they look out. So ultimately, general kind of thoughts on this game. I think it's a Steelers victory. The Colts definitely got a interesting win on a injured Houston Texans team. They had to start Tom Savage. If Deshaun Watson had played in that game, I think it probably would have been a better outcome. And the Steelers have been legitimately a very strong team this year in terms of offense, defense especially. So I'd say, based on all those factors, I just think that this is a Steelers victory. And I don't really see that many scenarios where the Colts come out on top. And of course, you can find my other work at draftcobra.wordpress.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.